agenda item is related with the recent military aggression in the Tavuz region. And today is a very huge opportunity for all of us to listen to directly the information about the problems in the region and the background information. And first, I'd like to introduce a little bit about His Excellency Ambassador, who has an outstanding experience in the diplomatic area. His Excellency Ambassador Khazar Ibrahim served as the head of the mission of the Republic of Azerbaijan to the NATO with the rank of Ambassador Extraordinary. And previously, he was the Deputy Chief of Mission of the Embassy of the Republic of Azerbaijan to the United States of America. And between 2007 and 2009, he was a spokesperson of the Azerbaijan Foreign Ministry and the Deputy spokesperson before. So his huge experience on the military diplomacy and the institutions related with the international institutions related with the military. Today we're going to receive His Excellency's important insights about the case. Excellency, welcome. It's a great honor to host you here. In today's format, as you know, we are receiving questions from the exciting youth audience for the last 6 days. And if you allow us, we would like to raise these questions to Your Excellency to receive your feedback and the in detailed information which consists of very important insights about the case. Welcome, Excellency.
Thank you very much, Ahmed Bey. First of all, I want to welcome you, your colleagues, thank ICYF for this opportunity, and also welcome the entire audience. I hope that I will be comprehensive and in detail enough so not to disappoint this very interesting audience. I should also apologize because I'm sitting in the garden right now. You know, we're all facing COVID-19, and today, you know, we're constantly going through the testing and disinfection processes. So today we had one of those days when entire staff went for the testing and entire embassy is disinfected, so we are not allowed to get in. So that's why I'm talking from the garden, which actually makes my job, I think, a little bit better because I'm getting some fresh air, and hopefully I will share also some fresh ideas with you.
Thank you very much, Excellency. I mean, we would like to thank you again for joining us, even at hard times, and using all necessary things to join us. Thank you very much. We are appreciating it very much, Excellency. And Excellency, I mean, I would like to start a very brief question because our audience is from all over the world, and I think majority of time requires to have some real background information about the issues that we are facing in the last 20 days. I mean, this is not an issue of the last 20 days, but it has a huge background. So, Excellency, could you give brief information about the history of the NagornoKarabakh conflict in the region?
Yeah, it's a good question. And since you said that the audience needs the background, and as you mentioned, I was a spokesperson at some point, and the background information is always very important for the audience to be prepared. So I will go a little bit deep into the history, but try to be brief in terms of its explanation. Well, in fact, if you look into the issue of Nagorno-Karabakh, and I would rather call it Armenian expansion into the Azerbaijani territories and the occupation and military aggression, we should look back probably 200 years back, because then we didn't have Armenian community anywhere in the region or in Nagorno-Karabakh or in Karabakh in general. Armenians were brought here after or during Russo-Ottoman and Russo-Persian wars. After many treaties between those empires, Armenians were brought in as the ethnic group in order to control the region and not to allow Turkey or then Ottoman Empire to have a larger place or space in the Caucasus. So therefore, even if you look 100 years back, so 200 years back, they were brought in, and 100 years back, if you look at demography, then you can see that in Nagorno-Karabakh, despite the fact that they were forcibly brought here, or rather they were brought here to forcibly expel Azerbaijani and Turkish population from here, their numbers were very limited. And even in 1918, or between 1918 and 1920, when in the region 3 republics were established, Azerbaijani, Armenian, and Georgian. Armenians were the smallest. Even the capital city of Armenia today, Yerevan, was completely Azerbaijani Turkic city, which by the decree of the government of Azerbaijan then was given as a gift to Armenia in order to have a decent city as the capital city. But the point is, while they were brought here as ethnic group in order to control the situation, they have always tried to expand their lands and their geographic presence. And they always used the times, the uncertain times, the skirmishes with unknown outcomes in order to advance their interests. So it was 100 years back when these 3 republics were established, and when they were all occupied by Bolsheviks, they tried to push the Bolshevik government to grant them some territories, including Nagorno-Karabakh. And then when we're coming back like 30 or a little bit more ago, again, the unknown situation, again, the uncertain circumstances. They started it after Gorbachev started so-called perestroika and glasnost. In 1987, they started expelling Azerbaijani population also from Armenia. And we should not forget that Armenians not only expelled Azerbaijanis from the Republic of Azerbaijan, but also hundreds of thousands of Azerbaijanis were expelled from Armenia, because historically Azerbaijanis has always lived on the geographic territory where Republic of Armenia is located right now. So in 1987, they committed some massacres in Kafan and other regions of Armenia, then Armenian Soviet Socialist Republic. They expelled them and then started advancing and expelling Azerbaijani population from Nagorno-Karabakh region of Azerbaijan. And by then, actually, they have already started changing demography during Soviet times. So by 1988, they already constituted majority, because the Soviet government was also interested in having more Armenians in the region as a continuation of the policy of the Russian Empire. So they expelled Azerbaijan population. They committed massacres. They even committed genocide in 1992 in the city of Khojaly. So the hot stage of the military conflict, which started as a illegal military aggression by Armenia against Azerbaijan, had the hottest part in early 90s, which ended in 94 and resulted in the occupation, illegal military occupation of Nagorno-Karabakh and 7 other regions of Azerbaijan. There are 4 Security Council resolutions which were adopted during these occupational advances of Armenian armed forces. Unfortunately, they are not implemented yet, but they require unconditional withdrawal of all the occupying forces from the territories of Azerbaijan. And starting from 1994, we're having Minsk Group under the OSCE, and we have 3 co-chairs of the Minsk Group, which are Russia, United States, and France, which by their mandate supposed to help to bring the solution to the conflict and put an end to the illegal occupation of Azerbaijani territories. Unfortunately, up until now, we don't have any significant progress. And unfortunately, what we see is not just the continuation of the occupation, but other provocations by Armenian side, and not only in the occupied territories, but also in Tovuz, which we have witnessed just a week ago.
Excellency, at that point, I'd like to ask a question to you. First of all, let me express our thanks for joining us and giving us a permission to ask all questions raised by the youth. So it will be a very frank question, Excellency. When the Nikol Pashinyan government of Armenia came into charge, there is an optimistic expectation in international community, including Turkey and Azerbaijan as well, that he will foster an constructivist approach on solving the Nagorno-Karabakh issue. And while the expectation about there's an optimist expectation about this issue, he states, on the contrary, as Karabakh is Armenia. I mean, by raising this issue, by stating directly as Karabakh is Armenia, he is contradicting with lots of laws of the international law, and also he is obstructing some peaceful negotiation offers, attempts of the OCC, which is chaired by the United States, France, and Russia. Excellency, as frankly, what could be the main motivation or the source of power that caused Pashinyan to shift from this optimist approach to this obstructing the international law? What could be the main source of motivation for this and the encouragement?
This is a really good and probably a fundamental question. Indeed, we also had expectations from Nikol Pashinyan and his new government. The reason why we had expectations were quite simple, because the previous leaders of Armenia, both of them, President Serge Sarkisyan and before him, President Robert Kocharyan, they both come from Nagorno-Karabakh. They both were military leaders. They both participated in the massacre, and one of them actually in the genocide against Azerbaijani population, which he didn't hide and openly said that to international journalists. So we expected that when the new person is coming, whose background is different, who didn't participate in these massacres, we would probably can have a chance to advance the positions. First, it was very difficult to judge or difficult to assess fully the situation. He was new. We thought that probably his statements, which did not fit into the negotiation processes dynamics or algorithms, could be referred as inexperience, referred as the novice in international diplomacy. So he simply doesn't know the right wordings or right diplomatic way of expressing things. Unfortunately, what we saw further was it was not the lack of diplomatic experience or lack of the government experience, actually. It was the fact that either he put himself as a hostage to the situation because he had to deal with this issue, because the previous government put it just into his face, or on the other side, which is also very bad, that he deliberately was trying to have position which was not just different from the previous government, but even going further. So when he said, yes, as you mentioned, Karabakh is Armenia, when he made some other statements, it put the cross, or rather strong impediments into the negotiations within the Minsk group. It was very unacceptable for us, and President Ilham Aliyev very openly, very straightforwardly said that to all our international partners and to international community, that will not tolerate it. And he even said that if somebody thinks that they can say Karabakh is Armenia, period, then instead of period, we'll have an exclamation mark for Karabakh being part of Azerbaijan. And when my president was saying that Karabakh is Azerbaijan exclamation mark, unlike Prime Minister Pashinyan, we have the basis for that. Historically, it's part of Azerbaijan. Legally, it's part of Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan was accepted to United Nations with Nagorno-Karabakh. All international community recognizes Nagorno-Karabakh as part of Azerbaijan. And we have all the tools to solve this issue um, uh, within the norms and principles of international law. So therefore, yes, our expectations were not met as far as the new government in Armenia is concerned. And furthermore, we see not only the words, but also some deeds by the government which even exaggerate the situation, and they do not even hide behind the nice wordings and instigate more military provocations, which of course never remain unanswered.
Thank you very much, Excellency. And if you allow, I would like to switch to the recent agenda item that we are facing starting from the 12th of July, the military aggression of Armenia in the Tovuz region. First of all, very frankly, when the military aggression news has emerged, the Armenian aggression, military aggression, majority of the people, even Turkey, thought that it was in Nagorno-Karabakh region. But it is very interesting that this issue has emerged in an Tovuz region, in the Tovuz region, in which there is no border dispute between the countries, and also this border is internationally recognized. Secondly, this issue emerged during a time that all the world, all the states are suffering and fighting against the pandemic internationally. Not only LDCs, but the developed countries are also suffering, and they are doing their best, and they're spending money. All the economies are affecting from it, and the member states as states are trying to find solution to this pandemic at international level. But at that time, that damages to the economies and the systems of the countries, the Armenian government has attacked Azerbaijan in a region there is no conflict. So why they are attacking this part? I mean, yeah, I mean, if it was a Nagorno-Karabakh issue, the international community has some kind of experience. There's this a conflict zone, and sometimes we are seeing that military interventions there. But this is a totally new place, and there are no disputes between the countries and the international community. So, Excellency, what is the real reason for attacking specifically that reason? That
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. Tovuz region of Azerbaijan has nothing to do with either Nagorno-Karabakh or other occupied regions of Azerbaijan. Why they started here? We have a couple of things which cross our mind. One is probably internal. It has to do with internal politics and internal dynamics. If you look at the situation in Armenia, we can see that, yes, you're right, the entire international community is fighting invisible enemy named COVID-19. Azerbaijan is not the exclusion, and Armenia is not the exception. But the situation is that Armenia is probably one of the worst performing countries in the world. And it's not just our assessment, but the assessment of WHO and all the international expert community. So therefore, it also instigated a lot of popular unrest and disappointment with the government in handling the COVID-19 situation. So this is one part of the internal problems of Armenia. The second one has to do with the previous government. One of the previous ex-presidents of Armenia is jailed right now, and he is leading one of the strongest political powers in Armenia. Some of the richest people have big problems with the government. One of the richest, or probably the richest person, who is member of parliament, has been stripped of his immunity. So there is a lot of domestic pressure on the government, and we believe that one of the reasons for the government of Nikol Pashinyan was just to deviate attention of the public from these domestic issues into the foreign adventure. But why in Tovuz? This could have happened also in the occupied territories of Azerbaijan. Here comes, from our perspective, the international narrative or reasoning government of Pashinyan could have had. And that one was to involve into this issue their allies. When it was happening in the occupied territories of Azerbaijan, these are international recognized territories of Azerbaijan. So therefore, collective defense institutions where Armenia is a member, namely Collective Security Treaty Organization, which consists of Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Belarus, has zero power, zero mandate, or zero reasoning to do anything. But when it's the border of Armenia, then Armenian side probably thought, yes, now we can tell them, look, there is a threat against our proper, so therefore CSTO and probably its largest member, why we should hide it, they thought Russia should play a role. So that we think was the international reasoning, or reasoning from international perspective. They wanted to have CSTO as collective defense organization and Russia to be involved. And they didn't hide it actually. The next day after their provocation, when we had to answer, of course, to defend our territories, they called on CSTO to have a meeting, which was first agreed and they canceled by CSTO. Of course, even the members of the organization, where they have allies, understood that this was just unfortunate, deadly, and very dangerous adventure by Armenian side.
Excellency, at that point, I want to switch to the other question, which is related to the point that you are sharing, the insights that you are sharing. Is precisely from the social media and the questions that we get, the main tone is trying to figure out if there is an third parties related or indirectly contributed to this conflict and encourage the military aggression. So from your point of view, who could be the third parties who are gaining from this military aggression?
I personally don't think that this time somebody told them or instigated them to start, but rather they started it to involve them. So it was the other way around. But the fact remains the same, that we're having negotiations within the OSCE Minsk group. We're having three co-chairs, which are United States, France, and Russia. And we have very good relations with all these three countries. All of these three countries, each of them is a permanent member of UN Security Council. It means they are amongst the most powerful, most influential countries which can help to advance the conflict resolution. From another side, which is both good, is that they have the most influence on Armenia because they have these three countries host the largest Armenian diaspora. These same OSCE co-chairs. Good thing is, if they want, they can influence Armenia through diaspora or directly. The bad thing is exactly because they have very strong Armenian diaspora, which from domestic politics perspective, very negatively influence the positions of this government. So therefore, instead of showing the positions based on the international law, its norms and principles, we see very often, and I apologize for using maybe not very diplomatic phrase, but very wishy-washy position or very fuzzy position by the OSCE Minsk Group co-chairs. What the mediators need to do in any conflict resolution process is to name the things with clarity and with the very meaningful weight on it. So they should say who is aggressive, who is a victim, who did what was wrong, and which wrongdoings should be eliminated in order to have the conflict resolved. Unfortunately, for this last 30 years, almost 30 years, we see very neutral phrases which do not help advancement of the conflict resolution. And I would base it specifically on the negative influence of the Armenian diaspora and Armenian lobby, which we have all around the world and specifically in these three countries.
Thank you, Excellency. And from the international part to the internal politics part, I would like to ask you questions about internal issue about the Azerbaijan. When this TOS aggression has started, we observe that in the media, 10,000s of people were in the streets of the Baku and the other cities of the Azerbaijan, and majority of them consist of the youth, and they were chanting the slogans of Karabakh. And in this regard, I would like to ask, what is the demand of the Azerbaijani people, precisely the youth, from the government about this issue?
It was very natural to see tens of thousands of youth going outside, going to the streets, despite the quarantine situation we're having in Azerbaijan. And despite all the measures, they were in the streets voluntarily, chanting the slogans, "Enough is enough. We demand our territories. We're going to fight and get our territories back." And there are two parts into this, and nobody should ignore them and take them very easy. One thing is that government of Azerbaijan represents and reflects the position of the people it represents. So, and these were the people on the streets. And if they demand Karabakh, if they demand return of our territories, it means our government follows the policy, and our diplomacy, our foreign ministry, our embassies are part of it. We have to forge our strategies and policies and steps in line with these demands of the people. The second part is that, of course, you're having those people, most of them were probably born during the occupational period. Many of them definitely have any member of the family who either fought defending our lands, or had casualties or fatalities probably during the war. And you don't need even to instigate them. And even from our perspective here in Ankara, in Turkey, we also had a lot of Azerbaijanis, young people, students and others, who just came to the embassy and said, we voluntarily want to go and defend our lands. And again, it's a feeling, it's a desire coming from the very deep of their heart. And within the 1 week after Armenian provocation started and aggression started, we had more than 50,000 Azerbaijanis who signed up as volunteers to go and defend our lands. And it's not just the phrases or just them announcing that they're volunteers. They went specifically directly to the recruiting offices of Azerbaijan and officially became the volunteers who want to go and fight. So this is very important to take into consideration, and not only for us and not only for the countries in the region, but also those countries who have to help to solve this issue in peaceful manner, because our territories were occupied militarily through military aggression and very illegally. So therefore, when they also state that we should go with peaceful resolution, it means that all non-peaceful ways
Mhm.
through which our territories were occupied should be eliminated.
Yeah. Uh, and Excellency, at that point, we also perceive that, I mean, we clearly witnessed that. As expected, Muslim world clearly states its firm stance with the Azerbaijan government and its people in this military aggression. And we see that OIC Secretary General has released a statement. Turkey Council joined it, and the countries like Pakistan and Turkey clearly stand with the people and the government of the Azerbaijan in this conflict. And on that point, His Excellency Recep Tayyip Erdogan, President of the Turkish Republic, state that this aggression is beyond the capabilities of the Armenia. I mean, it was very interesting. It is very curious to look at his selected words, because after that he said that we are together with the Azerbaijan with all means. I mean, from the international policy and international relations experts, these wordings are very critical and important. So, what is your overall assessment for the and evaluation for the stance of the states and the international community in this issue?
I want to express our gratitude. I will come back to Turkey specifically, but to OIC, Turkey Council, and the representatives of all the countries which supported the just position of Azerbaijan and spoke against this uninstigated aggression. At the same time, it's very important when we come to the position of Turkey to realize several things. One thing is, yes, Turkey and Azerbaijan are not just neighbors, they're not just friends. Turkey and Azerbaijan are brotherly nations. One nation, two states is not just words. And today, Turkey is by all means next to us, as you mentioned, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said. At the same time, Azerbaijan is absolutely by Turkey in any issue Turkey is facing. I personally went in March to Hatay region of Turkey immediately when I heard of the fatalities among the special forces who were deployed in Syria to see and talk to our troops. It's not just the official position. Of course, official position is there, but it's also coming from inside of every Azerbaijani when any strategic core issue for Turkey is concerned. And the same when Azerbaijan is concerned. So we saw very firm position of His Excellency President Erdogan. We highly appreciate that. Position of all the ministries, foreign ministry, defense ministry, all other ministries. Every day we're having rallies all around Turkey. Even today, just 2 hours ago, I was in Keçiören district of Ankara, which is the largest district in Turkey, where there was huge rally involving all parties, all members of the society who came and said, we are together with Azerbaijan by any means. So this is very important to understand. Yes, we're brothers and there is always this feeling, this approach in both ways. But there is another thing which should be taken into consideration very seriously, which comes from diplomatic point of view. Turkey is also a member of the Minsk group. It's not a co-chair because there are 11 members to the Minsk group, but there are 3 co-chairs which lead the negotiations. And Turkey specifically stated its position that it supports not only Azerbaijan's position, it supports Azerbaijan's just position. This is very important. And I think for international community, it's very important to take into consideration when Turkey states that we support just position of country X, let's put it this way, let's this X country be Azerbaijan or any other country, it substantiates it. And Turkey substantiated saying, Look, one country cannot occupy the territories of another country. One country cannot violate internationally recognized borders of another country. One country cannot use or threaten the use of force against another country. These are all norms and principles of international law. And even in 1993, when Turkey closed its borders with Armenia, it didn't say that we're doing it only because Azerbaijan is our brothers. Yes, we are, but they said because they are UN Security Council resolutions, which specifically and directly demand withdrawal of the all occupying Armenian troops from Azerbaijani territories. Unless these resolutions are implemented, conditions are met, only then we'll consider opening the borders. So therefore, when the position of Turkey vis-a-vis Azerbaijan is concerned, we should take into consideration, of course, the brotherly base of it, but at the same time, the very notion that Turkey on any international issue, and I think I think it will be good also for our audience to take into consideration. Look into any international issue where Turkey is involved, be it in the Mediterranean, be it Middle East, be it in the Caucasus. Turkey always substantiates it not with the geopolitical consideration, not with confessional or religious narratives, but by the norms and principles of international law, the very wording of treaties and agreements. So therefore, Turkey is not just a member of international community, as many other countries. Turkey is very rightful member of international community, and Turkey is the member of international community which always pays more attention to justice and international law.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for this explanation. And I remember during my graduate studies in Boğaziçi University, in the international theory part, which examines the nature of the relationship between member states, it is allocating the Israeli and United States relationship as a unique relation, as the only unique relation in the region. And one of my colleagues, who is now in the Azerbaijan working in the ministry, and tell to the professor that no, there are two relationships. Turkey and Azerbaijan relationship also is a unique relationship, which cannot be explained through the theory of the international relations.
Yeah.
That story is very, very good.
You're absolutely right. If well, look, even the position of ambassador of Azerbaijan to Turkey is going way beyond of the diplomatic practice, if I could put it this way. I travel all around Turkey. Wherever I go, in every region, I think, and I apologize if I break any domestic considerations or rather rules of the Republic of Turkey. But sometimes I'm admitted by people more warmly than some governors or heads of municipalities of the region. All doors are open to me. And once I remember during the elections in Turkey, parliamentary elections, I was giving one of the speeches, I don't want to say where, and my poster was put there, and the people are coming and said, Ambassador, we want to vote for you to the Turkish parliament. You know, I am here as any other Turkish citizen. I'm not seen any different. And the same goes true for also my colleague in Baku. He's also admitted and accepted everywhere. There is not a single door, single window, or even above it, not a single heart which remains closed for us.
Thank you, Excellency. You mentioned about these international laws and principles, binding agreements and conventions. For the recent increase, the military aggression of 20 July, starting in 20 July, we see that lots of civilian casualties, and we are expressing our condemnation to the families and wishing recovery from the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the injured ones. But from the convention part, there is a binding convention. This is the fourth Geneva Convention, which regulates and creates the principles of an war. And we see in that aggression, military aggression, to totally obstructing, totally acting against this Fourth Geneva Convention. And as the representative of the Azerbaijani government, Azerbaijan, Republic of Azerbaijan, what will be the international legal steps that will be followed by the government of Azerbaijan on protecting the rights of these people who lost their lives in this military aggression according to the Fourth Geneva Convention and other binding agreements?
Of course, going to International Court of Justice, it requires a lot of work, a lot of details, and there's so many things which piled up regarding Armenian actions against the civilians on the territory of Azerbaijan. And it's for our lawyers to consider in which way we will follow our steps. But at the same time, first, it was not just this time, even before, and very often not during the hot periods of the conflicts. Armenians shelled our civilians, our villages. 2 years ago, we had a 4-year-old girl killed with her grandmother. This time, we had a 76-year-old old man who was killed in his house. Very often, we saw all these atrocities by Armenia, and in 1992, February 26, it's known all around the world, the genocide in Khojaly, where they indiscriminately killed kids, women, elderly, and everybody. What we're doing right now and what we have done for these years, we're very actively engaged international organizations, international community. Every single international organization was informed, and we demanded their position on that. And many of them, including OIC, including Turkey Council, including many, many, many other organizations and countries, they condemned these atrocities. They condemned these massacres. They condemned this genocide. But you're right. Maybe I'm not talking as an ambassador or diplomat right now, but as a citizen, as a person who also has partial legal education. Maybe we should consider also going to International Court of Justice on this issue as well.
Thank you very much, Excellency. And as I said, we received lots of questions, and we are also combining some of them. And we see that lots of youth is trying to understand the real position of the Azerbaijan government and the people. For solving the Nagorno-Karabakh issue and the occupied territories of Azerbaijan, is Azerbaijan people and the government is ready to enter a full-fledged fight for war with the Armenia? And the second part of the question is related that, seeing that aggression coming from the counterpart, do you still perceive that the peaceful negotiation process can be sustained under these circumstances?
Let me start with the second part of your question. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem very sustainable because Armenia, as we already talked before, constantly tries to deviate from the position, from the own stated positions. And also, unless the mediators clearly state who is who in this conflict and how it should be solved directly, based on the international law, rather than other considerations. Armenia sees the resolution based on other considerations, which is they believe that they can solve it by use of force, which they did. An Azerbaijani position is exactly reflection and refutation of the narratives of Armenia. We say that since our territories are occupied by force, then by the provisions of Article 51 of the UN Charter, we have the right for self-defense. And I don't want to use the wordings you said, which are quite harsh in terms of going into war, but we have the right for self-defense. And self-defense requires all means. And if we have the right, and at the same time we have the might, we'll combine them and solve our issue. Of course, we want diplomatic solution, and therefore we're still engaged into the negotiation process. But at the same time, we believe, and our people demand us to solve this issue as soon as possible. And if we believe that we can solve it diplomatically, but we don't see the results, then unfortunately, the circumstances do not leave any other options for us. And if, again, our people demand it and they rightfully see it as the only way, then it's not only us, not only the government of Azerbaijan, but also mediators who should take it very seriously.
Thank you very much, Excellency. First of all, switching to my last question, I'd like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to ask you very frankly and openly the opinions and the questions of the youth. And ICYF, as the youth institution of OIC, represents around 500 million youth all over the world. And since from its establishment General Assembly in 2004 in Baku, ICYF is receiving the generous support of the Republic of Azerbaijan, technical, diplomatical, in all means. And since from 2010, Republic of Azerbaijan is hosting ICYF's Eurasian Regional Center. And we appreciate for all the efforts and the support to the Republic of Azerbaijan in this regard. But in this regard, I would like to ask your opinion and recommendation as a member of OIC. What is the expectation of the government of Azerbaijan from the ICYF and the 500 million youth that is represented by ICYF in this conflict about Nagorno-Karabakh issue and the occupied territories of Azerbaijan?
This is a very good question, and I think number one thing, and I think it's not only position of Azerbaijan, it's also position of Turkey. It's also position of any other country, member of the OIC and ICYF, is that 500 million youth, number one thing they should do is to be the best. This is number one thing. We should all work hard. We should all work smart in order to become the best in terms of your education, in terms of your patriotism, in terms of your open-mindedness. The quality matters. So number one thing is to have quality. Because if we do not have quality, whatever strategies we will pave, they will not end up into the results we expect. So therefore, number one is quality, 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 quality. Number two, we should know each other. We should know each other as best as we can. Try to engage, try to challenge us. Because look, we're here for you. Whatever questions you have, we can explain as I'm doing right now, telling background about the issues of concern for Azerbaijan. But at the same time, we should learn about all other important issues of concern for our country. Sometimes they can be very much linked. Sometimes we may have so much connections that we ignored them before. And maybe by talking and through your challenging questions, maybe we can find these connections and move forward. As far as Azerbaijan is concerned and the situation with our occupied regions, including Nagorno-Karabakh and 7 other occupied regions of Azerbaijan are concerned, I want everybody to know that government of Azerbaijan, state of Azerbaijan, Republic of Azerbaijan, never ever in its history, and anybody can go also search it, can see, we never went against any other country. We never demanded the territories of any other country. We never committed any atrocities against any other nation. But we had it against us. And even with that, we don't see anybody as an enemy. we are a peaceful nation. We're a nation which respects other ethnic groups. In Azerbaijan, we have thousands, imagine. We're one of the most multi-ethnic countries in the world. Small nations with so many ethnic groups, with so many religious beliefs. And we are one of the most tolerant nations in the world. But again, for all the 500 million youth in the Muslim world, we can be very peaceful, our religion teaches us. We can be tolerant, our religion teaches us. But we will never tolerate when somebody comes and commits atrocities against us. Our religion is very tolerant. Our nation is very tolerant. What we're strong enough to answer any challenges we face. And our youth demonstrated that in the streets of Baku after Armenia committed these crimes against Azerbaijan.
Excellency, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to raise you the very frank questions that you answered very openly. And we are glad to meet you again, inshallah, in the next events of ICYS. We are hopefully overcome this pandemic and together, and we reorganize our events offline. But during that time, we are going on our activities online, and now simultaneously two different activities has been going on by ICWave. And starting from the March, the emerge of this pandemic, ICWave has established its online campaigns and activities trainings, and now reached around 5,000 certificated trainers trainings for the youth, and we are expanding it very much. And I'd like to re-express our gratitude to Your Excellency and on your behalf to the Republic of Azerbaijan for the great support to the ICYF activities. Thank you very much for the participation, accepting our invitation in that hard circumstances. Even you accepted us in garden. Thank you very much, Excellency. We are appreciative.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Believe me, government of Azerbaijan, Republic of Azerbaijan, we are always with you and by you. So therefore, whenever you have anything, know that we are always for you.
Thank you very much. Dear friends, this is the end of the 12th session of the ICWave Special Talks, and hoping to meet with you again in the 13th one with another leading international figure, diplomat, minister, or head of international institutions about the selected topic. See you in the next session.